Prospecting, pipelines, quotas. On the surface, sales looks like a numbers game. But the longer you watch people sell, the clearer it becomes. The gap between reps who struggle and reps who excel rarely starts with talent. It starts with behavior. I'm Grant, and this is the Psychology of Sales from Uncommon Sense Lab, where we talk honestly about what selling really requires and how a bit of behavioral science can make the entire job feel more predictable. I've spent years selling, leading teams, and observing hundreds of reps at every performance level, the ones who accelerated, the ones who stalled, and the ones who burned out. Over time, you start to see patterns, not opinions. Patterns, repeatable across industries, market segments, and territory models. That's where today's perspective comes from. Not theory, not slogans. Actual patterns, the kind you only see when you've watched enough people fail for the same reasons and succeed for the same reasons too. Let's start with the first one I noticed. Pattern 1. Many struggling reps try to think their way out of selling. They plan, they format, they color code. They build spreadsheets they never touch again. They rewrite messages 12 times before sending one. Psychology calls it avoidance through cognitive overload. If the first step feels heavy, the brain sells you on more prep as progress. But it's not. It's delay dressed up as discipline. Here's what I saw again and again. The reps who improved didn't suddenly get braver. They changed the size of the starting point. One message, one call, one reach out tied to one real change in an account. Tiny action, real momentum. Pattern 2. The most successful reps weren't faster. They were clearer. Across the teams I've led, the top performers shared one thing in common. Their outreach always had a reason that made sense. Every time. Not a trick. Not a template, not just following up. It was anchored to something happening, a shift in the company, a pressure the buyer cared about, a real business moment, always anchored to context. That's what made the message land. Behavioral science calls this contextual relevance, the idea that people respond when a message connects to something already active in their mind. The reps who struggled believed relevance meant personalization. The reps who succeeded understood that relevance meant alignment. Two very different things. Clarity over speed. Align to what's already active, and your message lands. Pattern 3. The reps who grew the fastest weren't afraid of no. They were afraid of staying confused. This surprised me early in my career, but it became obvious with time. A rep who hears no, and understands why, can adjust. A rep who hears nothing, or avoids outreach entirely, stays stuck. Progress needs contact. Avoiding the moment only preserves uncertainty. There's a psychological principle behind this. Feedback creates certainty, and certainty reduces anxiety. The best reps treated no as information, not rejection. It clarified the territory. It sharpened the message. It freed up time. The reps who failed avoided that moment and paid for it with months of ambiguity. Pattern 4. Consistency was never built on motivation. It was built on systems. The least reliable reps believed their best work happened when they felt on. The most reliable reps didn't wait to feel anything. They built routines that removed emotional decision-making entirely. The science backs it. Routines cut cognitive load and increase follow-through. The reps who succeeded worked from structure, even if that structure was simple. A time block, a trigger, a checklist, a short list of accounts based on movement, not guesswork. They weren't perfect. They were consistent. Pattern 5. The best reps didn't sound like sellers. They sounded like people who understood the buyer's pressure. That's it. Nothing flashier than that. They didn't perform. They didn't pitch. They didn't overwhelm. They asked questions that made sense. They spoke about outcomes that mattered. They made the buyer feel understood, not pursued. This is straight from workplace psychology. Humans trust people who reduce uncertainty and increase clarity. Top performers did that instinctively. Others learned it, and everything changed. The biggest lesson I've learned in sales isn't talent. It's that success is built on behavior, measurable, repeatable behavior, long before confidence or personality show up. I've watched hundreds of reps rise, stall, or burn out. the distance between those outcomes is thinner than most people think. If you capture attention, reduce friction in your process, align with real buyer context, and protect your consistency, you get the same lift top performers rely on, even if you've never read a single study. This is the psychology of sales. I'm Grant. Next time, we'll break down the science-driven differences between busy reps and high-movement reps, one of the clearest divides I've seen. This has been Uncommon Sense Lab. See you next time.